Hello guys, today as continuation of the previous class, we'll learn the abdomen, right? Originally, so first region is anterior abdominal wall or anterolateral abdominal wall. In today's class, we'll learn about its landmarks and planes. We have already discussed in the previous class. We just haven't plunged into the deep, but in today's class, we'll plunge deep into the landmarks and planes of the anterior abdominal wall and their clinical relevance, right? The anterior abdominal wall constitutes a hexagonal area, right? Defined superiorly by the costal margins and xiphoid process, laterally by the mid-axillary line, and inferiorly by the iliac crest, pubis and pubic symphysis. So these are the boundaries of the anterior abdominal wall, right? It is continuous with the posterior abdominal wall and paravertebral tissues, forming a flexible sheet of skin, muscles and connective tissue across the anterior and lateral aspects of the abdomen. So it is continuous with the posterior abdominal wall and paravertebral tissues. So these tissues also form umbilicus and inguinal canal, which connects the abdominal cavity to the scrotum in men and labia majora in women. So the inguinal canal, which is a passage from abdomen to the pelvis. The anterior abdominal wall maintains the shape of the abdomen and aids numerous physiological functions. The anterior abdominal wall is muscular aponeurotic structure confined to the anterior and lateral aspects of the abdomen. So the physiology and the functions of the abdomen we have already discussed. So the anterior abdominal wall especially maintains the shape of the abdomen and the physiological functions like respiration and distension of abdomen after having food, right? In the micturition, defecation and all. So it is bounded above by the xiphoid process, right and left costal margins. Below by the anterior part of iliac crest, fold of groin, pubic tubercle, pubic crest and pubic symphysis. And on each side separated from the posterior abdominal wall by the mid-axillary line. So these are the boundaries of the anterolateral abdominal wall. You see, this is the xiphoid process, right? And this is the costal margin, right? Costal arch it is called as. This is ASIS, this is iliac crest, right? This is ASIS. And this is pubis, this is pubic symphysis, this is tubercle. So this is the, so the shape is hexagonal. Hexa means 6, right? Coming to the bony landmarks, here we have bony landmarks, sharp tissue landmarks, and some planes by which we can divide the anterior abdominal wall to study are the clinical relevance of the particular point, right? Coming to the bony landmarks, first of all, costal margins, right? The costal cartilages of the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th ribs form the costal margin. Remember that 7, 8, 9, and 10, right? These form the costal margin. The 7th costal cartilage is the lowest cartilage to reach the sternum. So the 8th, 9th, 10th don't reach the sternum, but they reach the 7th costal cartilage. right? The right and left costal margins run upwards and medially toward the side of the Giffard process and encloses between them an infrasternal or subcostal angle. The costal margin reaches its lowest level in the mid-axillary line. Right, you see, this is the 7th costal cartilage, right? It only reaches the sternum, whereby 8th one reaches the 7th one, 9th one reaches the 7th one, 10th one reaches the. So here they are forming the costal margin, which is also called as costal arch, right? So this costal arch or costal cartilage, right? The lowest form of the 10th rib, the lowest is mid axillary line. So here is the mid axillary line, right? 7th one reaching the sternum. And so here is an angle called as subcostal angle. Subcostal angle, right? Or infrasternal angle. Infrasternal angle, right? So that is costal margins. That is one of the bony landmarks. Coming to the another bony landmark, that is Giffard process. Giffard process forms the upper limit of the anterior abdominal wall in the anterior median plane. It lies at the apex of the subcostal angle, and its apex is sometimes bent forward and hence easily palpable beneath the skin. The Giffard process lies at the level of T9 vertebra. Okay, remember that. So this is the Giffard process, right? So at the T9 vertebra, right? This is L1, T12, 11, 10, 9, right? Coming to the another bony landmark, iliac crest. It forms the lower limit of the anterior abdominal wall. Upper limit is formed by the Giffard process, whereas the lower limit is formed by the iliac crest and can be traced forward to the anterior superior iliac spine. About 5 centimeters behind the anterior superior iliac spine, a prominent tubercle of iliac crest can be felt on the outer lip of the crest, right? You already know this. The highest point of iliac crest lies at the level of L4, just below the level of umbilicus. So umbilicus is at the level of L2, L3, L4, okay? Between the intervertebral disc of L3 and L4. So this lies just below the level of the umbilicus, tubercle of iliac crest. Coming to the last bony landmark, pubic symphysis. It forms the lower limit of the anterior abdominal wall in the anterior medial plane. It is easily palpable and lies at the level of coccyx. So these are the bony landmarks, right? Costal margins, Giffard process, iliac crest, anterior superior iliac spine, pubic symphysis, right? So that is the bony landmarks of the anterior abdominal wall, right? You see, this is the costal margin, this is the Giffard process, right? Iliac crest and pubic symphysis. So if we form so this is the anterior abdominal wall, right? Coming to the soft tissue landmarks. The first one in the soft tissue landmarks is groin. It is a curved linear horizontal groove which extend downwards and medially from the anterior superior iliac spine to the pubic tubercle. So the groin is the connection between the abdomen and the lower limb, thigh, right? This is the groin. It's convex downwards and overlies the inguinal or Paupert's ligament. It is called as inguinal ligament, hence it is called as inguinal line or Paupert's line. It is placed at the junction of the anterior abdominal wall and the front of the thigh. So, the groove along the inguinal ligament is called as groove of the groin. Okay, the groin area or the inguinal area. Another soft tissue landmark is midline groove or furrow. It is a linear furrow or groove which extends from the xiphoid process above to the pubic symphysis below. So, xiphoid process to pubic symphysis, there is a furrow, right? Means depression. It corresponds to the linea alba, a tendinous raphe which separates the two rectus muscles from each other. The midlinear furrow divides the anterior abdominal wall into right and left halves. You see, this is the furrow, okay, and also the linea alba, okay. That means white line from xiphoid process to the pubic symphysis. There will be a depression like that, okay. This is the groin, groove of the groin, right, and this is linea alba and furrow. Another soft tissue landmark is umbilicus. It is an irregular, depressed, scarred area in the linear midline furrow, a little below its midpoint. Right? We'll discuss about the umbilicus more in detail in the further classes. Right? Coming to the another soft tissue landmark, that is linea semilunaris. Semilunar means, luna means moon. Semiluna means half moon. Right? It is a curved furrow which extends from the tip of the ninth costal cartilage to the pubic tubercle. It lies few centimeters away from the median furrow and corresponds to the lateral margin of the rectus abdominis. Right? So this is the rectus abdominis muscle. Right? Right and left half. Right? Rectus abdominis. Right? This is the furrow or groove, middle furrow and the linea alba, and this is the linea semilunaris. Okay, lateral boundary of the rectus abdominis muscle, because it is half moon shape, it is called as linea semilunaris, right? You see, this is the furrow groove in the midline, depression in the midline, right? This is umbilicus, right? And this is also the linea alba, and you see this is linea semilunaris, right? And there are horizontal lines also, right? They are called as intersections of tendinous intersections, right? So these are the soft tissue landmarks. Coming to the another soft tissue landmark, spermatic cord. It is a soft rounded cord present in the males, right? It is absent in the females. It can be palpated through skin as it passes downward just above the medial end of the inguinal ligament to enter the scrotum. You see, this is the spermatic cord, right? Scrotum, right? The content of the spermatic cord are ductus deferens, testicular artery and vein, epididymis, right? So this is the spermatic cord, right? It can be palpated the inguinal ligament. Coming to the another point, McBurney's point. It is a point at the junction of the medial 2/3, remember this, medial 2/3 and lateral 1/3 of the line extending from the umbilicus to the anterior superior iliac spine, spino-umbilical line. base of the appendix lies deep to this point. So whenever somebody complains of the pain, okay, around the umbilicus, right? Okay, if it is here, that is, if the pain is at the McBurney's point, it is the pain from inflamed appendix. Okay, appendicitis, it is called as. So the pain at the McBurney's point is appendicitis. Coming to the another landmark, Murphy's point. It is a point where linea semilunaris meets the right subcostal margin, right? Right subcostal margin. It corresponds to the tip of the ninth costal cartilage. The fundus of the gallbladder lies deep to this point. Okay. The fundus of the gallbladder lies deep to the point, right? So when there is pain at this point, it is called as Murphy's sign, where inspiration causes pain at this particular point, right? You see Murphy's point, ninth costal cartilage, deep to this lies tip of the gallbladder. This one is McBurney's point, spino-umbilical line. This one is McBurney's point. Right? So this is the linea semilunaris. This is alba. Right. Coming to the planes, we have some planes by which we can divide the anterior abdominal wall into some regions like 4-quadrant region or 9 regions, right? Depending on the planes. So it is easier to know the pathology deep to the particular region by dividing it into the regions. First plane is transpyloric plane or Addison's plane, right? So it is an imaginary horizontal plane which passes through the midpoint of line joining the jugular notch to the symphysis pubis. So jugular notch to the symphysis pubis, this is the midpoint, right? Midpoint of the this line joining the jugular notch and the symphysis pubis. It lies about 1 hand's breadth below the Giffey-sternal joint. Okay, if this is Giffard process, Giffey-sternal joint, okay, 1 hand breadth below the joint. Anteriorly, it passes through the tip of the ninth costal cartilage and posteriorly through the lower border of the L1 vertebra. Okay, so L1 vertebra, in the previous class, we have already discussed this. Transpyloric plane, vertebra L1. Okay, the very important structures pass through the at the level of the L1. Example like pylorus, hile of the kidneys, right? So this is the transpyloric plane, L1, okay. You see, this is the pyloric orifice, kidneys, pancreas, all important, many important structures are at the level of L1 or transpyloric plane. You see, this is the jugular notch and this is the symphysis pubis, okay. This is the midpoint, 1 hand breadth below the Giffey-sternal joint, right? That is transpyloric plane. Coming to the subcostal plane, it is an imaginary horizontal plane which passes immediately below the costal margins, right? Immediately below the costal margins. It passes anteriorly through the lowest border of the costal cartilage of the 10th rib and posteriorly through the L3 vertebra. So subcostal plane is at the L3 vertebra, whereas transpyloric plane is at the L1 vertebra. So this is the costal margin, right? So immediately below the costal margin is subcostal plane, okay, right, at the L3. Transumbilical plane, it is transverse plane that passes through the umbilicus and lies at the level of the intervertebral disc between L3 and L4. So the transumbilical plane at the L3 and L4. Intertubercular plane. It is an imaginary horizontal plane which joins the tubercles of the iliac crest. It is palpable 5 centimeters posterior to the anterior superior iliac spines and passes through the upper part of the body of the L5 vertebra. You see, this is the intertubercular plane, right? Subcostal plane, transpyloric plane, right? And umbilical plane. So transpyloric plane is L1, subcostal plane is L3, and umbilical plane is between L3 and L4. Intertubercular plane is L5. Okay, always remember that. Coming to the right and left vertical planes, also called as mid-clavicular planes. They pass from the midpoint of the clavicle superiorly to the point midway between the anterior superior iliac spine and the pubic symphysis inferiorly. That is mid-inguinal point. So you see, mid of the clavicle to the inguinal, between anterior superior iliac spine and midpoint of anterior superior iliac spine and pubic symphysis. Okay, if we draw a line between these 2 points, it is called as mid clavicular line, right? So if you subcostal planes, mid clavicular planes, intertubercular plane, subcostal plane, and transpyloric plane. So the abdomen region divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 regions, right? That is why this is very important to know the planes, right? You see, this is the every plane in, see, mid clavicular planes, right? Subcostal plane, intertubercular plane, right? So we have all the structures: right flank, umbilical region, left flank, left groin, pubic, right groin, and we have to know why the groin region is weak in the anterior abdominal wall. The region of the groin is weak in the anterior abdominal wall because of the embryological developments. During the development, the gonads in both sexes descend from their sites of origin on the posterior abdominal wall into the pelvic cavity in women and developing scrotum in men. So the gonads are not usually in their place as in the adults, right? In the intrauterine life, they are in the posterior abdominal wall. They descend into the pelvis. Before descent, a cord of tissue called as gubernaculum passes through the anterior abdominal wall and connects the inferior pole of each gonad with primordia of the scrotum. That means the precursor of the scrotum in men and the labia majora in women. They are called as labioscrotal swellings. So the gubernaculum connects the anterior abdominal through the anterior abdominal wall, connects with the labioscrotal swellings or the primordia of the scrotum. A tubular extension called as process vaginalis of the peritoneal cavity. So this is another thing, right? This is not gubernaculum, but a processus vaginalis in the peritoneal cavity, and the accompanying muscle layer of the anterior abdominal wall projects along the gubernaculum on each side into the labioscrotal swelling. So along with the gubernaculum, the peritoneal cavity and the accompanying muscular layers of the anterior abdominal wall enter the labioscrotal swellings. In women, testis together with its neurovasculature structures and its efferent duct, that means ductus deferens, descends into the scrotum along a path initially defined by the gubernaculum between the process vaginalis and the accompanying coverings derived from the abdominal wall. All that remain of the gubernaculum is a connective tissue remnant that attaches to the caudal pole of the testis to the scrotum. The inguinal canal is the passage through the anterior abdominal wall created by the processus vaginalis. Remember that? I will explain that. The spermatic cord is the tubular extension of the layers of the abdominal wall into the scrotum that contains all structures passing between the testis and abdomen. The distal sac-like terminal end of the spermatic cord on each side contains testes, associated structures, and the now isolated part of the peritoneal cavity, the cavity of the tunica vaginalis. Right? In women, the gonads descend to a position just inside the pelvic cavity and never pass through the anterior abdominal wall. Remember that as a result, the only major structure passing through the inguinal canal is derivative of the gubernaculum, that is round ligament of the uterus. So the gonads in the women don't cross the anterior abdominal wall. They are in the pelvis only. Okay, they are not on the outside of the pelvis, as in the case of male. Okay, scrotum is outside the body, right? In both women and women, this region groin is weak area in the abdominal wall and is the site of inguinal hernias. So you see, these are the gonads situated in the posterior abdominal wall. Okay, this is the labioscrotal swelling, right? Labioscrotal swelling. So the structure connecting these two things are gubernaculum, right? So gubernaculum. So along with the gubernaculum, this is peritoneal cavity. Okay. So this peritoneal cavity along with these are the muscles, right? Muscles and fascia. Okay. So they also extend into the labioscrotal swelling along with the gubernaculum. Okay. So this is called as, this peritoneal cavity extension is called as processus vaginalis, right? Along with muscles, peritoneal cavity, and again that is sealed off and it is called as tunica vaginalis, right? So this testis ultimately reaches the scrotum like that. Okay, you see the gubernaculum, the testis. You see the testis is coming downwards. Okay, this is at the 7th month to the birth. This is birth, 7th week. You see, so at first it is okay, but then these muscle layers forming processus vaginalis, right? Okay, all of them descend together, right? Here happens descent of testis, right? So because of there is a defective area because of the inguinal ligament and all in the anterior abdominal wall. Because through the defect, the inner content of the abdomen, that is intestines, right, or anything may come out during the increased abdominal pressure. Okay, that is called as hernia. So normally it is sealed off. Okay, in the inguinal scrotal hernia. Okay, the entire intestine is coming into the intestine or into the abdomen. Okay, that is inguinal hernia. Okay, you need to know that. Okay, okay. So let us, okay. So this is anterior abdominal wall. Okay, this is linea alba. Okay, structure in the rectus abdominis. So this is anterior abdominal wall, right? Let us draw. Okay, you see this furrow, right? This is umbilicus. This is symphysis pubis, right? Linea alba, linea semilunaris, right? And also see, here is the groin, right? Groin. So see, so this is the costal margins, right? Costal arch, Jaffoid process, anterior superior iliac spine, tubercle of iliac crest, right? This is symphysis pubis. So this is the anterior abdominal wall, bony landmarks of anterior abdominal wall, right? These are the bony landmarks of anterior abdominal wall, right? Coming to the soft tissue landmarks, we have already seen the. So if you see, okay, you have already seen the furrow, okay, in the linea alba, umbilicus, and linea semilunaris, right? Let us see McBurney's point, okay? So this is umbilicus, right? This is anterior superior iliac spine, right? So divide that into 3 equal parts, right? So the McBurney's point is at the middle 2/3, okay? Middle 2/3 and lateral 1/3. That is here, middle 2/3, junction of the and lateral 1/3, right? So here is the McBurney's point, okay? McBurney's point. So here lies the tip of the appendix, okay? It should be there. So if you, for fun, let us see what is there. Where is the appendix, okay? So you see, that there is the appendix, okay? So that is McBurney's point. Here the selected, okay, selected structure is appendix. Here is, sorry, okay, here is the appendix. Coming to the another Murphy's point, right? In order to know the Murphy's point, let us first do these things, okay? So you see, so here is the 9th costal cartilage and the junction of the semilunaris, okay, linea semilunaris, right? This is the linea semilunaris. This is the 9th costal cartilage. This is Murphy's area, okay, Murphy's point. Let us see whether there is, what do you call it? The tip of the gallbladder, right? Let us hide this muscle. Let us hide, again hide, again hide, again hide. Right. So there is the Murphy's point, right? Let us clear the drawing, and you see here is the gallbladder, right? So at the junction of the ninth costal cartilage and the linea semilunaris lies the gallbladder, right? There it is, that is the gallbladder, right? Let us see once again. You see, so here lies the gallbladder, right? That is Murphy's point. Again, okay. Coming to the transpyloric plane, right? So it is the junction between Giffard process and this is the Giffard process, right? Hope everybody. Giffard process, and here is the inguinal ligament, right? Here is the inguinal pubic symphysis. Sorry. So this is the line joining the jugular notch and the pubic symphysis. So there is midway between the jugular notch, the line joining the jugular notch and pubic symphysis is the transpyloric plane, right? It is 1 hand breadth below the uh, below the level of Giffard process. Okay, Giffy sternal angle joint. Okay, joint. Okay, this is L1 transpyloric plane. Okay, this is at the level of L1, right? So in order to see that, we'll see, right, whether this is at the L1. Okay, that is L3, that is L2, this is L1, right? You see the structure, that is L1, right? So the transpyloric plane is at the L1, and let me show you something. So it has pyloric end of the stomach, right? You see, this is the stomach, right? Pylorus, that is the pylorus. So that is where the pylorus is there, and you see where this is at the level of L1 is the level of kidneys, right? So kidneys are kidneys, right, through the transpyloric plane, of course, like this. This one goes like this. Okay, that is transpyloric plane. Coming to the another one, right, that is umbilical, sorry, transumbilical plane. This is transumbilical plane, right? And there is subcostal plane. Okay, here is the subcostal plane. This one is subcostal plane. This is transpyloric. This is L1. Subcostal plane is L3, right? And there is another, that is transtubercular plane, right? That is at the L5. So let us see whether they are lying at that area. You see, we are very missing. Okay, this is L5. Okay, so it should be like this. Okay, so L5 there is trans, you see the tubercles, right? It should be transtubercular plane, right? And this is umbilical plane. Okay, what I had drawn. Okay, transumbilical plane, this transtubercular plane through the L4 and bad drawing. Okay, this is transumbilical plane, right? And through L3 goes sub subcostal plane, and through L1 goes transpyloric plane. So let us do one thing. This is L1. Subcostal plane is L3, right? Transumbilical plane is between L3 and L4, whereas transtubercular plane is L5. Okay, so these are the planes, right? And also, okay, this is clavicle, right? Okay, this is the clavicle. This is the clavicle midpoint, right? From midpoint to the anterior superior iliac spine, right? So this is mid clavicular line. Okay, here is the mid clavicular line, and Here is the mid-clavicular line. Okay. So we got the 9 regions, right? And also, okay. So forget all the drawing. Okay. If we draw a line through the axilla, it is called as mid-axillary line, right? With that, we end the chapter. Okay, be thorough with all the planes and all the landmarks. If there is any doubt, let me know, right?